Williams is probably the best known tender manufacturer in the world. It produces 1,200 boats a year from its facility in Oxfordshire, from the entry level 2.8 metre mini jet to the flagship 7 metre Evo jet. Today is taking things to the next level. Underneath that sheet is a new boat and an entirely new brand underneath the Williams banner, and we and you are going to be the first people to see it outside of the Williams family. So let's get that sheet off and see what's lurking underneath. I'm Jack Haines. Welcome to a YachtBuyer exclusive. I'm not going to be going around the boat on my own. I'm going to be joined by Oliver Browne, who's Head of Product Development.
Hi Jack, good to see you again.
You too, Oliver. Thanks very much for having us here in the studio. Quite novel surroundings, really.
Yeah, and an exciting day, right?
Very exciting. Big moment. You know, you guys, well, how long has it taken to get to this point where we're about to pull the sheet off and show this to the world?
Yeah, so I've been with the company about 5 years, and one of my first jobs was to put the test hull for this boat on the water. So it's been a long time in that journey. We've had time to mature the product, and quite a unique opportunity in terms of boat design. Normally that gestation period is much shorter, so a real honour and a real privilege to have so much time to get to this stage.
Okay, well look, let's wait no longer. Let's get the sheet off this thing.
Yeah, great.
Show you what we're talking about. Do the honours, please. Oh, look at that. Quite different, hey?
Yeah, very different.
I mean, you know, Evene is the new brand.
Sure.
You see the E on your shirt there.
Yeah.
It's on the side of the boat. Obviously, there's this massive association with Williams.
Of course.
A lot of people know Williams, you know, the rib tender manufacturer. This is obviously a very different looking, feeling style of boat. So
yeah, no tube.
No tubes, exactly. Yeah, big moment.
Yeah.
So explain to me why the move away from tubes, and also why Evene?
Yeah, so Evene is really aimed at serving our super yacht customers. And with this product, what we're able to do is give them space. Space to move around the boat, space to enjoy the ride and be comfortable and safe within the product. So without having those tubes on the side of the boat, for the same overall package space, we gain so much more deck space.
Okay, that makes sense. And the full name, Evene Origin 57.
Exactly, yeah.
5.7 metres long.
Yeah, so Evene is the brand, Origin is our rigid boat range, and 57 because it's 5.7 metres long.
So no tubes.
Nope.
But we've still got, you know, this obvious sort of bumper protection.
Exactly, yeah.
And this is designed to be a tender. This is a super yacht tender through and through. Yep. So I guess that's important. This is protection for the boat and the mothership.
Yeah, you've got to have some form of fendering, and this is quite common on rigid tenders. So we're following a tried and tested path, and yeah, it offers that protection against the parent yacht. So we're not going to cause any damage. Of course, super yacht crews are professionals. They're not likely to bump into the yacht, but
it happens.
It's that reassurance, yeah.
Yeah, and let's move around to the back, because
Sure.
I think we should sort of start there and maybe work forward. Let's start back here. We're going to talk about jet drives.
Yep.
I mean, Williams, you know, that's what you guys do.
20 years of jet drive boats. Yep.
So I wasn't expecting there to be a propeller back here. But is this any different? This uses a Petestep hull. We're going to get into that later on. But is this any different to the Williams range, what we have in terms of drivetrain?
No, it's exactly the same drivetrain as you'll find in our bigger diesel jet range. So the same Yanmar 4LV engine, the same Williams pump system that's tried and tested on thousands and thousands of boats that are out there in the field.
Let's talk about the hull, I think, because
Sure,
that is such a big part of this boat's design.
Yeah.
A Petestep hull, I've experienced that once before on a 30-foot rib with a stern drive. And they talk about efficiency, they talk about ride comfort, they talk about it being quiet as well, in terms of quiet through the water.
Yeah.
All reasons I imagine why you'd want to include
and
it.
And also dry, very dry.
Okay,
yeah.
And that's important for a tender for pretty obvious reasons.
Yeah, we've got guests who are riding in comfort. We don't want them to get wet, we want them to stay nice and dry and comfortable. So a big factor. But as you say, also efficiency and also the ride comfort. So the way their deflectors work cushions the boat as it comes down.
Yeah, well, I mean, let's have a look. We can see it really clearly, can't we?
Yeah, so from the outside, it sort of looks like a conventional stepped hull, but it's not. The real difference is that those steps are running diagonally. So starting at the leading edge of the keel and then running progressively diagonally. And it's like the gears in a car. So as the boat gets faster, it moves on to the second deflector and then the third deflector.
And I mean, I'm familiar with this hull on bigger boats.
Yep.
What are the challenges with pairing it with something that's, a sub 6 meter platform?
I mean, this is the smallest that you would want to go on a rigid tender. It's a real challenge to make this work, and that's why it's taken that 5 years nearly of development to get this right and to get it to where we are today. It's a packaging challenge. You've got this great big diesel engine in here. You're trying to carry way more people than you would do on a conventional boat of this size. Yeah, 9 people on here in comfort.
Yeah.
So when you start putting all of that together, along with the size constraints, so this has to fit into garages on yachts. So we're restricted on width, we're restricted on height, we're restricted on length. Trying to get all of that down into a really well-engineered, really compact package is a challenge.
Yeah, I mean, and I've seen some clips of it running, which hopefully we'll be able to cut in to show you guys. And I notice it sits quite high as the water, and actually you've got quite a pronounced flare as well, haven't you? And I guess a lot of that is about deflecting spray and keeping that dry ride, because if you've got, 9 people's going to include people sitting right here, aren't they? They could be in the thick end of some spray if it's pushing up loads of spray and that's being blown over them. Yeah,
so, at the bow, the vulnerable point is when you come off of a wave down into the trough and risk stuffing the nose in. So that flare at the front really helps deflect that water. And actually, that flare includes a lip on the bumper here. So any water that runs up the top sides here is sheeted back down.
Yeah, that's interesting. And obviously, it's designed to function as a tender. So that must inform the styling, the design. That crossover and form of function must be so important on a boat like this.
What we've come up with is sort of a timeless, classical aesthetic for the boat. And we've got some shapes around here. So we've got this nice ellipse shape here.
Yeah.
And that was a starting point in terms of design. So Matt and John, our owners, their first boats they built were wooden, sort of Italian-esque runabouts. And we actually took inspiration from a feature on there. So there's a nice chrome air intake, sort of elliptical air intake, and that informed us with that shape, and that's become the signature shape.
I hadn't actually picked it up, sort of seeing it from the side, but now, looking down the boat, it's really quite prominent, that sort of design signature.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is concave in here, which is quite unusual, and we wanted to play with the surface. You can imagine sunset with the reflections off the water, some really nice patterns developing on the shape of the boat here. So a risk with going to a rigid boat is you've got these sort of fairly vertical surfaces, and we didn't want it to look tubby. We wanted to put some energy into the boat, make it really classical, really stylish. So really played with the surfacing here.
And just briefly returning to performance, because we haven't covered that yet. You've got that Yamaha 4-cylinder, 190 horsepower. 195 horsepower. What sort of performance are you it's been sea tried, hasn't it? This boat's got hours on it. It's been in the water.
Indeed, yes. Yeah. So maximum with 2 people and a tank of fuel, we're getting about 42 miles an hour.
Okay.
And it's a real driver's boat as well. We've really concentrated and worked with Petestep to make the handling of this boat something really enjoyable. So although it's a tender and its primary function is to carry guests, and in that mode it's probably professionally crewed, professionally helmed, we also wanted the owner to have the opportunity to experience it themselves. So if they want to go off with the family for the day and go exploring, you've got a real driver's boat here. So the handling was really important to us. The ergonomics at the seat or the helm position were really important as well. So you get this really delicate handling where you tip it in, and you'll experience this for yourself on sea trial, I'm sure. You tip it in, and it gives you this really confidence-inspiring entry into the turn. You get a lovely carving turn. You can play the throttle on that turn and really enjoy it as a helmsman.
I mean, the jet tenders sort of aren't lacking in fun, so that sounds very promising.
Yeah, we all have big smiles on our faces when we've been out on the water.
I'm going to jump on board and have a poke around in a moment. Yep. Before we do that, just slightly bigger picture, what do you feel this is going to offer that competitors in this sector aren't already? Okay,
so traditional rigid tenders tend to be built by custom boat builders. They're one-offs. What we're able to do is to productionize this. So all of that knowledge and understanding that Williams has built up over 20 years, we're able to deploy onto this, which means every single item has been thought about for repeatability of build, for ease of build, and with that repeatability comes quality.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're able to put that in, which some other people perhaps aren't able to do.
And I suppose repeatability brings efficiency,
Yep.
which hopefully brings a benefit in terms of cost to the customer as well, compared to a one-off producer
absolutely.
where they're doing one at a time.
Yeah,
but
but not only
expensive
that,
work.
but we're on a journey as a brand to be what we call a responsible boat builder. So not only are we putting sustainable materials into the build of it, but it's the way we build the boats as well. So everything about our production line, our factory, our setup is all about efficiency, and with efficiency means we're throwing away less waste, we're putting less CO2 into the environment as a builder, as a supplier, as a product as well. So we're really thinking about that all the way through.
Yeah, and this is the first one. There's a 7-metre one in
we've got other
development as
products
well.
already in build.
Yeah.
So this will be joined by a bigger brother very shortly.
Well, let's not get ahead of ourselves. We've got this one to inspect first. So let's start back here. I think the first thing that you notice back here is the decision to go with cork instead of a synthetic teak or a teak.
Yep.
I guess that builds into what you were just saying about more sustainable materials. But
Yeah.
are there other benefits outside of that?
It's that journey for us. We want to be responsible. We want to do everything we can. Every little help.
I'll tell you, cork is good stuff. I've
Yep.
sea trialed some bigger boats with this decking,
Yep.
and it's grippy when it gets wet, doesn't get too hot. So
Exactly.
it's actually seems to, I mean, I've only been on it for a day,
Yeah.
but I don't know what the long term
And
life will be
relatively
like
easy
that.
to repair as well.
Yeah.
So, it will silver. That's natural aging process. But, end of each season, give it a light sand, it comes back to this lovely caramel colour again.
Yeah, and one thing that's really prominent about the design is this rail
Yep.
runs pretty much all the way around the boat.
Yep.
And back here you can see it sort of integrates with the cleats as well.
It does, yeah. So, you've just stepped off of your 10, 20, 30 million euro super yacht, and we wanted to extend that quality of componentry from the yacht down into the tender. So you feel familiar as you continue that journey down into the tender. It's a really nice, grippy guardrail that runs around the boat. It's a key part of the aesthetic of the boat as well. But, again, when you're on sea trial, or even when you're walking around it now, you'll realise it falls to hand. It gives you that element of comfort and stability as you're moving around.
Yeah, well, I'll test it
Yeah,
out.
sure.
While I step on board, why don't you pop the ensign in? It feels like we can christen
Which
it
is
inside
also,
the studio.
Yeah, also integrated into the guardrail. So there we go. We named this ship Evene Origin 57.
The first thing, and this is the first time I've stepped on board.
Yep.
The first thing is it does feel like you're inside it.
Yes.
It doesn't feel like you're on top of it.
Exactly,
And I guess
yep.
that comes from that freeboard.
Yep.
And you feel like you're pretty well protected.
Yeah, complete flat deck as well, which other tenders you might be climbing over engine covers or around other objects, but a key part of this is space. Space is luxury on this boat. So maximising that additional beam that we've been able to capture, and really having that flow around the boat.
And I see we've got, so you're not sideboarding on this model.
Not on this model.
Sorry,
no.
amidships, I should say.
Yep.
You're sort of board. You can see you've got mounts here
Yep.
for a boarding pole.
Yep, so one either side, and then the side boarding route would be down here onto this pad, down through this, there's a floating step in here, and then into the deck.
And you can mount the pole at the front as well, and we'll
Absolutely,
look at that later on.
So we'll cover that when we get to the back.
Storage underneath here. Well, actually, I can see there's a bimini, so that tucks down underneath the deck, and then obviously you put that up and it collapses away when you.
Yeah. So again, a difference over other tenders perhaps is sometimes this weather protection system, so whether it's a bimini or a spray dodger, they can look like a bit of an afterthought. We wanted to bring that big boat feel into it and integrate them in, get them to tuck out the way so they're not something you're tripping over or having to clamber over. And again, it's about that ease of movement.
And can you run with that up?
Yes, absolutely.
Up to full speed?
We've tested it at full speed.
Okay, that's good. So the storage back there, obviously we've got these opposing seats. These I always like to see. I mean, we've seen these on the Williams, haven't they?
Absolutely,
So you've always got something to sort of cling on to. And then underneath here, this is where we find the engine.
Yeah. So move it inboard. There we go.
And there it is. So, as you were saying earlier, no different really in any way to what we've seen before with the Williams products.
Yep.
Sits centrally here.
Yeah, and any one of our dealerships would open this engine cover and be immediately familiar with everything that's in here.
And is that the, oh, okay, so this is the central lifting point.
Single point
hatch,
lift, yeah.
And that connects down to
Screws
here.
into that fitting
Right,
there.
okay.
And you've got adjustment on there, which we set in the factory depending on options that the customer selects. That adjusts the centre of gravity on the boat. So we've preset that in the factory and test lift it. And then you've got some in-field adjustment. So if you change something on the boat, you can always adjust it.
So you can lift it that way, or you've also got lifting points dotted around here as well.
4 conventional lifting points.
Yeah.
2 aft tucked under the step here, and 2 down on the helm. So either use a strop arrangement or with the optional single point lift mechanism.
And these are going to be lifted on board, I guess, with a variety of different cranes. Gantry cranes, if they're going into a garage, they might sit on deck.
Absolutely.
It's got to be low profile because there's a chance it's going to be in like a side loading garage. So
absolutely.
That's why it's so low, I presume.
So the backrest, the aft backrest, you can unplug that to get that height down. The helm folds, as always happens on a large Williams tender. And you can even, if you really need to, you can remove these helm seats just by pulling the handles, sliding the seat forward, and there's an additional catch, and they just pop off.
I see.
And come out the way.
And I guess that's why, if I just take a seat at the helm, which I've been dying to do, that's why you've got no windscreen. Or is there a windscreen?
So there will be an optional windscreen. We haven't fitted it onto this one. All through our hours and hours of testing this boat, we felt that we didn't actually need a windscreen. So the profile of the bow actually deflects a lot of the air away. However, we recognise that some people feel that a windscreen is a requirement that they would like. So yeah, we'll have an optional, what we call aero screen, sort of inspired by 1930s racing cars, but it's a full width screen that floats off the front of it.
Would that be adjustable, or is that going to be fixed?
Yeah, but that
the whole
pivots
thing
with the helm. Yeah.
And you said earlier on, you wanted this to be sort of automotive feeling.
Yeah.
You've got a footrest, and it does feel like it's sort of sports car-ish.
Yeah. Yeah, and you've got a seat slider, so if you're a little bit shorter, you can slide that seat forward. Our boats have always been driver focused. Okay, this might be a professionally crewed boat with a professional helm, but we want that engagement with the helmsman, and it's a really fun boat to drive. So yeah, helm position, helm ergonomics was really important. So we wanted this automotive style seating position, which is pretty rare on a boat in my experience. Normally it's a real compromise. You end up either sort of sitting with the helm at sort of arm's stretch to allow you to stand. Yeah. But this you can do.
I think if you've got adjustment, the wheel moves, doesn't it, and the seat, you should be okay, no matter how short or tall you are. And there's space to stand, no bolster, I notice.
No, we decided actually we didn't need it. So just keeping everything clean and simple. We were happy with the ergonomics as they are.
Yeah.
And yeah, why give yourself the hassle of developing something that we don't feel we need?
Fair enough. Helm, is this, what we're seeing here, is this standard?
So there's a few switches on here that are part of the options package. VHF is an option. Your VHF aerial mounts here. Yeah,
that's just like a stub, isn't it? Yeah, obviously the aerial would be a lot taller than that.
Yeah, under that cap there's a screw fitting that your aerial goes onto. The Raymarine 12-inch screen is standard fit. It's the biggest screen that we've fitted on any of our tenders. So that's a step up into that premium sector for us.
It's very sorted, isn't it? And I mean, just look, I love the gauge of the stainless steel, even on that foot rail. It's amazing.
And then underneath, another new feature, we've got this, we call it the satchel, which just unhooks. If you want to unhook that side, there we go. So, valuable storage space at the helm, drinks bottles, charts, handheld radio, that kind of stuff. Just throw it in there, it's out of the way. It's not falling around on the deck or anything.
Is this designed by you guys?
Yeah, all of this is by the in-house design team. And these fittings on the end, these little hooks, it's all specific and bespoke to the Origin boat.
Very nicely done. Forward of the helm, storage, I assume?
Storage locker under here. I'll take that cushion from you. And also the diesel fuel point and the water fill point if you take the optional shower.
Oh yeah, because we didn't point that out at the back. There is a transom shower.
There is, yes.
Okay, cool. And then I presume somewhere around here is where the helm flips forward.
Yeah, a couple of little catches under here. And and the
that's
helm
nice.
rests on these strops which hold it in the stowed position.
All very manual.
Yes.
No, nothing to go wrong here
Keep
with
it
that.
simple.
I guess that's going to happen a lot, so you want to
Yep.
make sure it's
Daily
fail-safe.
occurrence. So.
Yeah, and this is it in sort of low profile transport mode. I
Yes.
assume it's going to a garage. This is how it'll look. Cool. Should we put it back?
Yep.
It's all satisfying, isn't it, that noise? And then right forward, well, this is the fun seat, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
Two people right at the bow facing into the boat, but you know, if you're going to maximise carrying capacity, you've got to have it. Is there anything else under here? More storage, maybe?
Yeah, so another one of those hatches under this cushion, and notionally that's your anchor locker. And then under here we have what we call spray dodger, so a pram hood to help you
We
with.
can have a look at that, probably, can't we?
Yeah, sure. Open that up.
Oh, I see. So that just tucks away under there, and that's designed to stop people getting showered in spray.
Seamlessly integrated into the boat, so it's you know, it doesn't ruin that aesthetic and the cleanliness of the lines of the boat.
Yeah, and it just all folds away. And actually, it's funny you mentioned the cleanliness of the lines, because up here you really notice how flush those railings are. You know, they don't protrude above the deck level very much, do they? It's all very sort of slick and low profile.
No, it's a real key part of the character of the boat, but you know, it's not shouting too much. It's discreet, but falls to hand nicely and really sort of holds the whole of the boat together.
And we should probably point out there is another mounting point for the boarding pole.
Indeed,
right there,
yeah.
isn't
So
there?
if you're boarding over the bow of the boat, you know, really important to have really good handholds as you're boarding on and off of the boat. You know, quite often charter guests, it might be their first experience on a boat, so they're not used to rocking and rolling on the water. So having that elegance to get on and off the boat is important, and part of that is, you know, really good handholds that help you.
Yeah, and you sometimes lose sight of the boat's purpose when you're on it, but there's all these little things that remind you this is designed to function as a tender. It's likely to be the first experience that guests have got of the mothership, so
Indeed.
I suppose you guys have responsibility for to set the tone.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, big responsibility.
It is. And actually something else I've noticed is this pattern here in the decking.
Yeah, so with cork, it's a sheet material, so we can do whatever we want. We do offer a more traditional planking version as well, but this is a bit of a play on the theme of the boat. It's actually the contour lines on the map of the hills that we can see from the design office back at the factory.
Is it?
And hence the origin of the boat. So wherever it is in the world, whether it's in, you know, Monaco or Miami, exploring the North Pole, or in Sydney Harbour, it's always got a little bit of home
It's
with
all
it.
very clever. The marketing people are very clever. Cool. Oliver, thank you. That's been really fascinating. It's such a cool way, I think, to see, you know, something brand new like this. Not our usual fare, but it looks fantastic. And thank you for your time.
It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you very much, Jack.
And we, the proof in the pudding will be the sea trial, won't it?
Well, we look forward to hosting you on the water.
Great, thank you. I'll hold you to that.
Cheers. Thanks.
Thank you very much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Please get in the comments. Let me know what you think about this entirely new venture from Williams. And if you want to see how they build these things, well, the Williams boats anyway, we've been to the shipyard and we've filmed that entire process. So I'll put that for you up there. If you'd like to subscribe to YachtBuyer, you can do that by clicking up here. Thanks again for watching. I'm Jack Haines. This is YachtBuyer.